Oh, straight into the roof of the net. Nice one. Straight down the middle. So a good performance from both teams here today.
Hello and welcome to Firstpost. I'm Rupha Ramani. Let's get started. All right, on the show today, Pakistan Cricket Board plays hardball. They've agreed to the hybrid model for the ICC Champions Trophy, but only if the same is applied to all ICC events that India will host till 2031. And that's not all. What are the demands that Pakistan has made, and will ICC give in to this? Doom and gloom in the football world as well. West Africa has witnessed a violent clash in a football stadium in Guinea. The government confirms more than 50 people dead in the manic clashes. What really happened, and were there political reasons that fueled the mayhem? And Manchester City succumbed to yet another loss. This time, fans at the Anfield launched into a scathing attack on Pep Guardiola, taunted and mocked him. How did he respond, and what does the road ahead look like for the very successful Man City boss? But first, let's take a look at the headlines. Starting with cricket, Pakistan took a 1-0 lead in the 3-match T20 series versus Zimbabwe after beating the hosts by 57 runs in the first match. Batting first, Pakistan posted 165 on board after Tayyib Tahir scored 39 of 55 balls. In response, Zimbabwe were all out for 108, with Abrar Ahmed and Sufyan Mukim picking up 3 wickets each. Pakistan already won the ODI series 2-1. In Formula One, Red Bull's Max Verstappen emerged champion at the Qatar Grand Prix over the weekend. The Dutch driver had a closely fought battle with McLaren's Lando Norris up until Norris was penalised for ignoring the yellow flags. Following the penalty, Norris finished 10th. Heading into the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, both McLaren and Ferrari will be fighting for the constructors' title, with McLaren having a lead of 21 points over Ferrari. On to football, Manchester United secured a dominant 4-0 win over Everton at home in the Premier League. Marcus Rashford and Joshua Zirkzee both scored a brace each to help United move to 9th position. And in chess, World Chess Championship final between Di Gukesh and Ding Liren is level after the completion of 6 rounds. The duo played out their third successive draw at the 14th match in Singapore, with Liren winning the first round and Gukesh clinching the third. Both players are level at 3 points with many more games left. And summing it up with news from badminton, PV Sindhu and Lakshya Sen clinched the singles titles at the Saeed Modi International Tournament. In the women's doubles category, Trisa Jolly and Gayatri Gopichand became the first Indian women's pair to win the title in the history of the tournament. Indian men's doubles pair and mixed doubles teams concluded their campaigns with runner-up finishes. Right, Pakistan Cricket Board seems to be listening to its disgruntled and frustrated cricket fans back home. They do not want to bow down to the ICC just yet, and by that extension, India too, all that easily. There were a couple of meetings that ICC held over the weekend. In fact, PCB officials were in Dubai to hold some conversations regarding the future of the Champions Trophy. What we hear, of course, is that Pakistan is now open to the hybrid model for the ICC Champions Trophy that's going to take place next year in 2025 in February. Remember, they were adamant on not accepting that for the longest time, but they have said yes to the hybrid model. But they have some additional conditions that ICC need to accept and meet if Champions Trophy is to proceed smoothly with that hybrid model setup. Now, a hybrid model in this case would mean all matches for all the other countries, the remaining 7 countries that will take part in the Champions Trophy, barring India, will take place across the 3 Pakistani venues, Lahore, Rawalpindi and Karachi. And India's matches alone will be held in Dubai in the UAE. The PCB now says they won't just agree to this alteration in the hosting plan. They need to get something in return for having compromised and agreed to a demand that their neighbour India has made. that of not travelling to Pakistan for the matches. So what are these demands? What are the requests that Pakistan has? The most important and crucial one is this. The one that ICC will have to weigh in on is Pakistan's demand of hybrid models for all ICC events that India will also host from this point on till 2031, which means if ICC Champions Trophy 2025 has to be a hybrid model, with India's matches being played at a neutral venue outside Pakistan, then Pakistan will also not travel to India during the ICC events that they will host. Just to give you an overview of the ICC events that India is scheduled to conduct in the coming years, let's take a look at those. 2025 is the Women's ODI World Cup. India is set to co-host the T20 World Cup in 2026 with Sri Lanka. That's a year later. And of course, India will also be hosting the Men's Champions Trophy event. That's 3 years later in 2029. And they will also co-host the Men's ODI World Cup along with Bangladesh, if I'm not mistaken, in 2031. That's the list of events that India is set to host according to the FTP and the schedule. So what Pakistan is saying is that for all of those events, their Pakistan cricket teams, men and women, will not travel to India to play any of those matches. Pakistan Cricket Board is clear in their stand that the two countries here must be treated equally, especially when it comes to their hosting rights. Now, if ICC is agreeing to India's refusal to travel to Pakistan and enforcing a hybrid model on Pakistan, then the same needs to be applied when India plays host to these events. Now, I get where this comes from. Pakistan wants to reclaim some pride. They don't want to be seen as pushovers. They want to be treated equally, something PCB chief Mohsin Naqvi kept insisting while he was addressing the media last week. That was just days before they met with the ICC. And it's this sense of playing hardball that fans have wanted PCB to do for a while now. However, certain former greats like Shoaib Akhtar have an entirely different view on this.
Once we're able to host the Champions Trophy in our country and they are unwilling to come, they should share the revenue with us at a higher rate. That's a good call. In terms of playing in India in the future, we should extend a hand of friendship and go there. My belief has always been, go to India and defeat them there.
Shoaib Akhtar feels Pakistan should be the bigger person and travel to India. But that's what they did last year at the ODI World Cup in 2023. And the reason Pakistan is now holding firm is because they do not wish to compromise over and over again. But have they been able to control the security situation in their own country before putting their foot down and making such demands before the ICC? That's what the ICC will want to ask and counter their claim of inequality with. India can host ICC events without a glitch because there has been no untoward activities hampering any cricket tournament in the country. No security threats endangering the people. But can Pakistan confidently say the same? That's not the only demand. There's more. Sources say PCB is demanding a larger share of the ICC revenue as compensation for forcing them to hold a hybrid model. If you remember the module, India is getting nearly 40% of that revenue, the ICC share, and PCB is getting somewhere around 6%. It's a vast gap. It doesn't look like ICC can agree to a larger share to Pakistan in this current scenario, which will mean that other boards will have to take a bit of a cut as well, something everyone may not come to terms with or agree upon. In fact, some reports say that ICC has already ordered a compensation value above the hosting fees for this inconvenience that they've caused. And that's how far that they will go. Just over the weekend, Pakistan's under-19 team beat India's under-19 team at the Asia Cup tournament by 43 runs. A very sweet win, but clearly Pakistan wants more. They want ICC to recognize India and Pakistan as equals when it comes to taking decisions related to ICC events, at least. They want to win a battle off the field before the war next year when the two face off at the Champions Trophy. Because let's face it, the match will have to happen somehow. We just are waiting to see how far ICC will be willing to bend backwards to make it happen. The Liverpool and Manchester City game kicked off a new era with Arne Slot taking over as Liverpool manager. The fiery battle between the two sides saw a new style of play. But unlike past battles between Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool and Pep Guardiola's Manchester City, the latest fixture was a one-sided affair. A lackluster Manchester City, in fact, lost to a confident Liverpool 2-0, adding more misery to an already under-fire Guardiola. This was the 6th defeat in 7 matches across tournaments for the Spanish manager. And during the game, the once invincible Guardiola was mocked and booed by Liverpool fans. Instead of "You will never walk alone," the crowd chanted, "You're getting sacked in the morning." Quite a unique chant from the Anfield faithfuls, and while it displayed Liverpool's dominance over City of late, it also showed Manchester City's vulnerability. An agitated Guardiola responded to all these taunts like this. Now, Guardiola might not have indulged fans in this manner during his glory days. Sure, his touchline antics have always been famous. So too his verbal battles with opposition players, referees, managers. But never did he get into an exchange with fans. The fact that Guardiola had to defend his poor run by showing the number of Premier League titles he's won with Manchester City kind of showed the pressure the manager is finding himself in.
Listen, I'm so proud for my 6 Premier Leagues against that team in the previous teams. I'm so sorry. I didn't expect Anfield with 0-2 start to chant beside. But maybe in Brighton, they did it, so I understand. But Anfield, I didn't expect that.
And while Guardiola tried shutting out the noise at Anfield, the internet, of course, didn't go easy on him. Many even saying that the 6 figures denotes the number of losses Guardiola has incurred this season. Brutal that. Feels like Guardiola is no longer being hailed for his fearless football. The only talk going around, in fact, is how long will Guardiola's losing run continue? And this time it's hit him hard. In the past, we've seen Guardiola stay confident in his approach, turn the tide in his team's favour despite a bump. But now the same Guardiola is being asked to take his words back.
I have to prove myself now. So it's not excuse. Rod is not there. What do I have to do? Cry all the time because Rod is not there? Or the 4 central defenders have not been there for a long time in the last month? I have to find a solution. I have to find a way to do it. And this is, I'm trying every day.
Guardiola says he's trying his best every day. The words, of course, showing how desperate Guardiola is becoming. He really wants to bring back the dominant City side he always had. He admits that the over-reliance on one player was probably one of the reasons behind their slump. So it feels like Guardiola is at least realizing there is a desperate need of a revival, and very soon. Something his arch-rival Arne Slot also feels could happen.
You feel sympathy or empathy with the managers that are in a really bad place. Pep has won so many things. And he's shown so many times already. That's why the league is not decided in November or December. No one has to feel empathy or sorry for Pep, maybe for other managers, but not for Pep. He's won so many things and he will be able to bring City back.
Slot seems to have more confidence in the Manchester City boss than his own Liverpool fans, but that still doesn't change the fact that Guardiola requires a massive change in fortunes. Because with every loss, Manchester City aren't just seeing the title drift away from them, but the chances of qualifying for the Champions League too. Because in a rare turn of events, if Guardiola's City are out of the top 4 in the points table, if the losing run doesn't cease, they might miss a berth to next year's mega event. So if a comeback is loading, Man City boss has to make it happen now. Guardiola needs a Christmas miracle to blow away the snowy fortunes that city is experiencing so far. Football often acts as a source to unite African nations in particular. It's been a stage for footballers to show their merit to the rest of the world. Stars like Mohamed Salah, Didier Drogba and Sadio Mane have risen up the ranks through the African footballing system. And while the sport has often brought joy to the continent, the same turned out to be the carrier of grief for one African nation. A football match turned into a bloodbath in the West African country of Guinea. The mayhem occurred during a local tournament between teams from two cities, Labe and hosts Inziko. The shocking incident hasn't just rocked the African nation, but has raised concerns over the situation currently in Guinea. Because the level of violence witnessed has been unprecedented and unlike any other fan clashes that we've seen and witnessed in the past. The exact number of deaths was not confirmed by the local authorities for a long while. Many news agencies, in fact, went with the death toll to be as high as 100. The government, of course, has confirmed now that the total number of deaths are at least 56. Videos on the internet show scenes of chaos in the street outside the stadium. There were bodies lying on the ground, and among the victims, there were children too. Gruesome pictures that, and the massacre wasn't just restricted to clashes between the two sections of fans. Witnesses claim the demonstrators also vandalized and set a police station to fire.
The government deplores the incident that marred the football match between the Labe and Nzeko teams this afternoon in Nzeko. Victims were recorded during the crowd crush. The government is monitoring the development of the situation and reiterates its call for calm so that the hospital services are not hindered in providing first aid to the injured.
The Prime Minister of the country has addressed the issue, but none of the authorities gave a detailed account of what really went on inside the stadium for the longest time. The government cleared the confusion by issuing this statement. The country, of course, will continue to investigate the matter, but the government statement only confirms what one of the local media outlets seemed to have reported of the stampede resulting because of a furore over refereeing decisions during the game. That angry fans of the visiting team Labe started hurling stones on the pitch owing to some referee calls and then proceeded to invade the pitch. But can a refereeing decision alone lead to such a catastrophic event unfolding? Because this wasn't a competitive match or a club-level game. The result of this was rather inconsequential. This was still a local tournament which was reportedly organized in the honor of Guinea's interim president, Mamadi Doumbouya, seized power by force in 2021 by overthrowing the then president Alpha Condé. Guinea's military junta executed the coup. Around the same time, its neighbors like Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger also did the same with their respective militaries. And because of this, there was international pressure on Doumbouya to hand back the power to the government. But Doumbouya, who has now elevated himself to the rank of army general, has decided not to give back the powers and intends to contest for the post of president in the 2025 elections. And this tournament was believed to be an outreach program for that very potential run. But the tournament turned into a massacre. Clearly, the interim president and the authorities have questions that they need to answer. Why was there such a security lapse that gave way to violent clashes? Because this isn't the first time a stadium attack has occurred in Guinea. Back in 2009 too, one of the worst massacres in Guinea's history happened in a football stadium. Back then, 156 people were killed. It was after troops opened fire at an opposition rally in the country's capital, Conakry. During the stampede, many were stabbed, beaten and trampled to death. This incident, of course, resulted in the then president Musa Dedis Kamara being sentenced to 20 years in prison for crimes against humanity. The current football violence, of course, is as shocking as the one back then. Now, we've seen football fans get hostile in the past, but none to such an extent, leaving the current regime under fire with many questions to answer and get into damage control for. Time for last serve. Former US Open champion Juan Martín del Potro had a winning send-off in his farewell game against Novak Djokovic. An emotional Del Potro got the perfect tribute from Djokovic. Take a look. That, of course, wraps it up here on First Sports. I'll see you again tomorrow, though. Same time. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.